2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome back to E14 Podcast. I'm Jamie Britt.
And I'm Heath Britt.
And together we are E14. Before we get started, let me put the disclaimer back on. The views and opinions are expressed in this podcast are those of our own and not the United States Navy or our respective commands.
So all y'all get pissed off, you can take it or leave it.
From the retired guy.
Yeah, I'm retired.
All right, so go on and introduce our guest today.
Before we start, you got introduced our guest. I want to talk about it's fall. We got you can't see our studio, but we got pumpkins up, we got some lights up.
Pumpkins.
Yeah, it's looking good. And the high's only like 88 today.
Yeah.
So it's super like
and we still don't
hot.
have AC, so it's like 90 in here.
Well, that's not you're exactly.
I already
like
been this is my second beer. So
it's like 80 in here. We have AC, just not central air heat right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. But I digress. We got with us Adam from the Average G.I. Joe podcast. Adam, thanks for joining us,
welcome,
man.
Adam.
Hey, thank you for having me. I've been a fan of you guys since I started, and I've been listening to you guys for a while now. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, bro. Hey, likewise, super stoked to have you here. You're a former FC2 in the Navy.
I was Tomahawk Tech specifically.
Tomahawk Tech, nice, man.
Wow.
So fellow combat systems guy, ETSC.
Yeah.
You know, we keep the old, non-combat systems over there on that side of the room.
You keep us going, huh?
Yeah.
It's broke, fix it.
So where you from, man?
Originally, I'm from Fresno, California.
Okay, cool. Fresno. And where you live now?
Right now I'm in Everett, Washington.
Oh, okay. Still representing the Raiders, I see on your hat.
Yep.
So Everett, that was my first duty station. Was on Lincoln out of Everett, Washington. I don't know how it is now. It's been 100 years since I've been there, but
yeah.
It was a super. I remember Mount Rainier's in the distance. It was a pretty town. And Smoky Point was near there. Arlington, beautiful area. I thought
Noah was still sailing around.
Jesus was an Orman second class. That's right.
Yeah.
And how is it now over there?
It's beautiful out here, the Pacific Northwest. I came out here non-military related. I came here on my own after the military, but yeah, it's beautiful out here.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was hard to get back. I tried once or twice to get back there just because of the area, but nope. Once you leave, it's hard to get back. So what'd you do in the Navy besides the FC? What's ships, or obviously if you're a Tomahawk guy?
I was stationed for 10 years in Norfolk, Virginia on the USS Donald Cook, and then on my shore duty I did a ComSecond Fleet. Okay. And then I did a year in Gitmo.
Got it.
For the IA program.
Mm-hmm. Did you guard prisoners or what?
Yep, that's exactly what I did.
So did you get poo slung at you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, cool.
No.
So man, like 10 years, that's the point where you're going to make it a career or get out. So you're right there at the breaking point. I guess, we know what route you chose, which is, good for you. You decided to take the civilian route. And what do you do now?
Right now, I stayed in the field. I'm an electronics tech for a nationwide company out here.
Cool.
Cool.
My area's out here. Yeah.
Nice, man. Good for you. So let's talk about the Average G.I. Joe podcast.
First of all, how'd you come up with that name, Everett, and what does it mean?
I know what it means. She's not combat systems type.
So I think the coin was originally coined for the Army and the Army Air Force as well, but I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s, and I grew up with the cartoon. Mm-hmm. And if you guys know the cartoon, the Joes out there were consisted of every branch of the military. And so when I thought up of the podcast, I do, and I want to include all branches of the military. And then, there's a ton of podcasts where everybody, they interview the SEALs and all the special forces, but I want to do a podcast where I talk to everyday veterans. And so that's how I came up with the name Average G.I. Joe. And don't get me wrong, I don't consider anyone that joined the military average. Everybody's above average to me. Everybody's a hero, but that's where I got the name from.
I love it because,
good.
we all come from different walks in life, and not everybody goes out there and like puts on the armor and the Kevlar, and we don't go out there strapped up with guns, and we all have our different parts to play in the military, and together that's how we're strong. So I love that.
No,
And
that's
it's also awesome because like even the different branches, like we all been through boot camp, we all been through a deployment. So even though we have similar things in common, we all go about it different. And so every story is unique, but the same. So I think it's cool to listen to.
Yeah, even within our own branch, I tell kids all the time as I'm recruiting now, the Navy's like you can make it your own. Your each decision will make it your very own experience, and your experience will differ from mine, even if we're the same rate, with each decision that you make to go left or right or turn around or whatever.
Everybody's experience is definitely unique.
Yeah.
So when did you start your podcast?
I started during COVID in July, I believe. And then, and then I release 2 episodes a month because, I do all the editing. I do everything on my own. And I don't know how you guys do it, but it can get time consuming. So I do 2 episodes a month. Yeah. And that gives me enough time to like, I'm not in a rush all the time.
Right. No. Jamie does the editing. I do most of the connecting with other people to get them on the show. But the editing is a full-time job in itself, much less if you're a one-man show doing all of it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this. I've become kind of a snobby editor because, like I said, I held my beer too close to the microphone. And I'm like, oh no, there's feedback. We got to stop. But you do, because you already know, like, oh, I can't take that out. I'm gonna have to edit around it, and so now because we're so busy and everything, it is so time consuming, and I totally get that. Sometimes Heath has to bribe me to edit. He'll be like, here's a new coffee pot or maker or whatever.
Yeah, I just had to do that recently, honestly. But in her defense, it probably took her 3 or 4 hours to edit that 1 hour episode.
Yeah.
So, so we usually try to catch the problems during recording, so that's the less we got to edit out when it's time to release it, because it's just you want to release it, but then you're like, God dang it, I got to edit all that crap too. And then I get it. That's why I didn't bug her about it. I just bought her a coffee maker.
So speaking of beer, you want to go around the room and say what all we're drinking?
Yeah, what you got?
I got it's called Golden Road Brewery. I got a mango cart, which is a mango wheat ale. And I try to drink locally, so it's got to be based out of Washington or Portland. I'm not exactly sure.
Oh my gosh, that sounds good.
No, Everett's got awesome breweries in that area. Oh
my
God. I remember even like in the 90s when I was on the Lincoln over there, like they were ahead of their times. They had like blueberry wheat beer that before anybody else had it.
Yeah.
Like Henry Weinhardt's was putting out some good stuff back then. It was just,
this is the first time I had it, and I think I could drink it for like breakfast with.
Does it taste like a mimosa type?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow.
Like almost orange juice level as well.
Yeah. So I'm having the cucumber lime goes from Urban South, which is a brewery here in New Orleans. And I really got into the sours this summer, and it still feels like summer here, as we mentioned. So I really got into the sours because they're very refreshing. They're light on my stomach, and they just make me feel cool. So this cucumber lime's got that little sour to it, and I really like it.
Well, I'm drinking a Urban South Oktoberfest, trying to get festive over here. It's probably a little warm to be drinking it, but it's still good. No, Urban South is a great brewery.
Fall's a good season for beers too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man, I love the Oktoberfest, but our fall doesn't really start until like December, late November, December. That's when the leaves actually fall.
Yeah.
So we get like like a week or two of fall, and then we go right into winter.
Well, winter is like a extension of fall. It never gets super cold, so we're pretty lucky. But I remember when I was in Everett, it was just, it never got super cold. It was just like in the 40s and rainy all winter.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, it drop and get some snow. But that's usually how my winters were up there.
but the snow up here is nothing. Like I lived in DC for a couple of years, and
Right.
you'll get snowed in for a couple of weeks every year. And
Oh,
when I came out here, it's a breezy winter. It's no problem.
Right. It's a lot easier than in
I
the
remember
Northeast.
my sister, we're from Texas. Both of us joined the Navy at the same time, and she went to Bremerton for her first duty station. And I, of course, went to Corpus Christi, Texas. And she calls back home and she tells my mom, the sky is gray, the ship is gray, the water is gray, everything's gray over here. So I totally get the rainy season.
Yes. I remember a bar that used to be over there in Everett. It's called Shotzi's. He used to have like tons of taps, like 30 taps of beer. And they had this beer called African Amber. I haven't had it since, but every time I go there and play pool or something. It was off of Evergreen Way.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Evergreen
Yeah.
Way?
Yep. I live right off of there right now.
Really? And I remember that bar was awesome. It had a lot of good beer. And there was a lot of cool people hung out there. They had one in Everett, and they had one, I think, in Arlington area.
Actually,
And,
we just bought our house in Everett, and I think my realtor told me about that bar that you're talking about.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
That was a good spot, man. I just remember all the great beer they had. Hey, babe, want to bring that beer down a little bit?
Oh, sorry. There's that feedback that I can't. Hey, this is a fizzy beer.
Yeah, it is. And I just remember that place. It was a cool little pub. And there was a place called Sporty's where you could drink. I was on Evergreen Way too, I believe. And you could drink beer, and then after you get good and drunk, you go in the back, and they had batting cages.
Oh, wow.
That's fun.
So there, after about a good 6-pack in, I like to go back and strike out a lot.
Yeah, try good luck hitting.
Yeah, right.
Anything.
I was good on the slow pitch, but the fast pitch I couldn't hit shit, especially after drinking.
Yeah.
I like those pubs that pair sports like golf or hatchet throwing and beer.
Have you guys been to the Top Golfs? Those are.
Yes. No, I've never been. No, I
Oh,
haven't.
I've
heard
seen
about
them, but they seem a lot of fun.
Those are a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have here in Slidell where we live, we have a hatchet house, so you can get drunk and throw hatchets. Yeah.
That's good time. That's right. It's just the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
For deadly weapons and alcohol.
No, what could go wrong, right?
And a bunch of sailors live around here. So, really,
Good times.
it's a great mixture. So tell us a little bit about your your service. I'm sorry, we already talked about your podcast.
Yeah. I joined straight out of high school. I was 17. I went in on a waiver. Heath, when you're choosing, were you able to choose ET or FC when you're going through?
I couldn't choose. I was tech corps. They chose for us.
Oh, they chose for you.
Yes, sir.
See, I went to tech corps, and then from there we were given the choice of going ET or FC.
Okay.
The friends that I were making there, they all went FC, so I went FC. I kept graduating at the top of my class, and so I was able to take Tomahawk orders and go to Tomahawk Sea School. I went to my ship, the USS Donald Cook DDG 75 out of Norfolk, Virginia. I spent 5 years on that. Took my shore duty, went to Commander Second Fleet. In the middle of that, I did my IA to Gitmo, and that's about it. 10 years later, I transferred out.
Yeah, so that's cool, man, because I didn't pick ET. Well, you said they gave us a choice, but it was not really a choice. You picked your first, second, and third choice of either ET, FC, or an old rate they had back then called DS, which you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay, so I picked DS first. I was done with school. So DS only had an 8-week C school, A school. FC had 13 or 11 weeks, I can't remember. So I picked that one second. ET was 6 months. I was like, nah, I ain't going ET. So I picked that last. But I was not at the top of my class. I like to party. So I was toward the middle to the bottom of my class.
Yeah.
So of course the one I picked last is the one I got chosen for me. Because all the smart dudes got and they all picked the same thing I picked. Everybody was ready to get the hell out of school. Nobody wanted ET. So I got an ET.
By
I was gonna
default.
say you seem kind of cool to be an ET. I noticed like a bunch of nerds go the ET route.
You're
No
right,
offense, y'all.
man. You know what?
Oh my gosh, here goes his head.
I've been
Go ahead.
fighting that
Stigma.
stigma. Yeah, thank you. That stigma for 26 years. So back in the day, what year did you join?
O2.
Okay, I joined in 95, early 96 time. So it was different. That was before anybody played D&D, or if they did, it wasn't as many. So we were all a bunch of party animals, most
Okay.
of us. So you had your D&D people in there later on that came about your time in the Navy, but for the most part, when I joined, everybody was
When we
pretty
started
normal.
dating, and it came up that we were both in the Navy, I was like, "What's your rate?" He said ET. I was like, "Okay, I'll go on a date with
Because
you."
she was an air traffic controller at
I'll
first.
go on a date with you.
She was an air traffic controller at first. They break it. ET's got to fix it. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot of nerds to use, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this, Heath, as well. So you did you said what 26 years?
Yeah.
I believe there's like a turnover in the Navy as far as like every X amount of years, there's a cultural shift in the Navy.
Yeah.
Have you been able to pinpoint like how long it takes for that cultural shift to change? Like, back in the 80s, they were smoking and drinking on the ship.
Yeah, smoking dope, dude. I mean, they were smoking dope and just getting like 15 days restriction.
Exactly. Have you ever been pinpoint how long that cultural shift on average?
Great question, man. So I joined in like 95, 96. So when I joined, it was don't ask, don't tell. There was a lot different then in like 05. So 10 years, 10 years, they started repealing don't ask, don't tell. That was the first big shift.
And dungarees.
And dungarees, but that was 99. But Navy changes uniforms every 5 years. So that was about 9-10 years. And then think 2017, 16 time frame with transgender in the Navy. That was another, what is that? 2000, another 10 years. So about every 10 years, I think.
That's what I was thinking, like 8 to 10 years.
You get a cultural shock, like a big change. But we're a snapshot of society.
Yeah.
So society changes. We might not catch it right away, but we're eventually going to come through the military, right? That's kind of what I think.
But and then even in the sense of like boot camp gets easier, like they're whooping your ass at the beginning. Even when I was in there, it was pretty difficult. And now I guess there's a certain amount of push-ups that they can make, and there's timeout cards or whatnot. So like
stress cards or whatever.
And then the battle stations was developed by Disney, and apparently this was like almost 15 years ago, and I was like, oh, is that new Disney thing? Somebody was posting on it on our recruiting page, and everybody laughed at me. They're like, it's not that new. It's like 15 years old.
8 to 10 years, you get a culture shock in the Navy. They shake things up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you don't hear about it. It all hits you at once because you don't see it coming, and all of a sudden it's there. You're doing like a training on it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a good question. Yes, 100% right. It does change, but it changes in society first, and then Navy slaps you in the face with it every 8 to 10 years.
So I also got this on my podcast. I do kind of two versions of it. One's a one-on-one interview with everyday veterans, obviously, and then I got a second one called Sea Stories, where it's just my buddies. How I explain it is we're doing like a semi-chronological order of a naval career, and we just tell stories. I like to preface it with it's not how to succeed in the Navy or anything like that. It's just I'm just bringing up topics, and then we tell sea stories about it.
I love sea stories. So I say this all of the time, and I might have mentioned it before on our podcast, but nobody can top a Navy sailor when it comes to a story. Right, because you get all of the details, and you get like you feel like you're there. And I mean, if you ever get the chance to speak to a Navy sailor, whether you're out in the smoke pit or whatever, and have them tell one of their sea stories, it is just, I mean, of course, it's like a big fish story. It keeps just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, exactly.
But Navy sailors are good storytellers.
But so you know, and I'm telling you these things on the podcast. I'm bringing up these events, and you know, my buddies are telling me stories about them. But I got a couple of questions for you guys, if you don't mind answering them.
No, knock it out. Go ahead.
I've never been to sea, but I can tell a story.
Okay. First of all, you've never been to sea? Wow.
That's what I said.
I know. I went reserve after my 6-year mark. So I did my shore duty, and then I went into the reserves. So I never had the opportunity to go to sea.
All right. I like to ask, I know this isn't my podcast, but every new military person, I like to ask these questions right off the bat is if you could think of the best Navy meal and the worst Navy meal, what are they?
Okay. The best Navy meal.
Yeah.
Is probably steak and snow crab legs.
Surf and turf.
Surf and turf. The worst one is anytime you had to hit port in a month or more and they're trying to make an invention with freaking rice. Anything like they're trying to do that, it sucks. So surf and turf and anything they're trying to make some cool invention with using rice, because that's all they got in the damn storerooms.
I've only been to the top galley. So I was in Pensacola and ate at that galley.
Oh,
and then I was in Djibouti for a year and ate at that galley. So my best one is chicken tendies on Thursdays. I love that day.
Yeah, that's a good
Unless you get there after the Marines and they ate all of them and then they give you chicken nuggets. That's the worst. So you can either, your day could be great on Thursday or it could be terrible.
It's always on a Thursday.
It's always on a Thursday.
What about you, man?
I say it as a joke now, but because we bring it up so often, but chicken cordon bleu is the favorite.
It's good. No, that's good.
And then I hate the Thanksgiving meals, like Thanksgiving or any other day, like a random Tuesday. I hate Thanksgiving meals on the ship.
Yeah, oh, just like for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah, I got you. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the holiday meals are always like,
especially when they try to do it when it's not a holiday.
Yeah, it's just like a random Tuesday in June or something.
You're getting turkey dressing and cornbread dressing with turkey gravy.
Yes.
And then my second question is, let's see if Jamie can answer this, but if there's a movie playing in the lounge, what movie do you think of that will always stop you in your track and you have to watch it for, you know, whatever amount of time, no matter what you're doing?
Top Gun, always. Always. I mean, if I had to go classic, that would be the one. You always have to, especially being in air traffic control or aviation. It seemed like we played Top Gun a lot, and if you're going to like a dance or a ball or whatever, Journey is always playing. It's like our theme song and movie.
So any song, any movie would have to be, and I know this is going to sound cliche because I've seen it 100 times out to sea, but I stopped and watched it every time. Battleship. And the song, and I agree with Jamie, it's got to be Journey, but it can't just be Journey. It's got to be one of my Filipino buddies singing it while it's going. That's the best, because I tell you what, my buddies on the ship could rock out to some Journey. It sounds just like Journey singing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were good. Yeah.
I mean, would you agree Journey's like the Navy's theme song? You hear it at every Navy ball, everything.
Probably. That or we got a lot of Bombs Over Baghdad by Outkast too. That gets played a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in the Tomahawk world, for whatever reason, we hear that a ton.
That's so hilarious, right?
Funny.
How each community in the Navy has their own like little themes that they go with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, but I heard I didn't finish it yet, but I started your podcast, the Sea Story one, with your buddies on there. That's good. Everybody went around the room, they were drinking,
Mm-hmm.
then they just went into stories. I haven't finished it yet, so I got to finish it.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's a cool idea. And we have something similar to that called Cigars, Ports, and the Seven Seas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do that. We don't, not sea stories so much. We just tell a little history about
and that's
military.
Yeah, and that's cool because, oh man, you just can't taught the tradition of the Navy, because it's been passed down since for centuries, probably,
Yeah.
some of those customs and traditions, and it's awesome. What I like about my Sea Stories podcast is like we bring up things that everybody experiences, but you probably haven't thought up about in a long time. Like, do you guys remember your first time checking on board your ship? Like, was that not like the most squared away salute and asking for permission to come aboard that you've ever done in your entire?
Yeah, it's the best. I was
26.
gonna get my ass chewed if I didn't do it just right the first time. But I remember that. I was so proud. Like, you're proud, but my first ship was different. You got checked in 97, so that sponsor thing wasn't a thing. It was a thing in theory only, right? I remember walking around that big ass carrier. Like, I mean, I guess there's no better way to find yourself around than get lost a few times. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm a small boy Navy, but like I've been on a carrier like once or twice for like parts or whatever, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, dude, I'm not going anywhere without an escort.
I don't know where I'm at.
Like, it's so weird. Like, you got to go down 17 floors and then come back up to move 3 feet to the right. It's ridiculous out there.
It's different. That was my first ship. Now, I never went back to a carrier. I did a frigate. I did tender, sub-tender, done mine hunter, LSD. So I'm never going back to the carrier, which I didn't want to go back. I'm just glad I did it.
Okay.
And I was done with it, because that tight knit stuff, you can't beat that tight knit crew on the smaller ships. Like,
no, exactly.
Everybody, everybody. I did. It's hard. It's easy to get lost in the sauce when you're on those big aircraft carriers.
You bring up that small knit community that you find on the small ship, and then on my one-on-one interviews, I always bring up well, I have like these things that I call sailor experiences. They're like, you're in the Navy if you've experienced this, correct? Right?
It's kind of like it's kind of like if you're a redneck kind of thing.
Yeah. But like one of the Navy experiences or sailor experiences I like to bring up on deployments is the ship bar in foreign port, where like you've been to sea for like 20 something days, you've seen the same 200 people every day, and you're like F all these guys, and then you hit a port, you go on Liberty, and then by the end of the night, the whole ship is at this one bar. And everybody's hugging and high-fiving like they've never seen each other. And
it's true, man.
Dude,
why is that?
I don't know, but I will tell you from my vantage point, when I went to Djibouti, we went to this little army course right before, and nobody really knew each other or anything. But the minute you step foot on foreign soil, that's all you know. So you just cling to each other. I don't know what it is, but as soon as we got into Djibouti, it was like, well, I don't know you, but I recognize this face, so we're best friends.
No, that's the truth, man. You're like, damn, I'm tired. You got one buddy you go out with that you're tight with, but at the end of the day, man, you're partying with everybody you just spent all the time wanting to get away from.
Yeah, you're like, you're day 23, and you're like, I can't wait to get away from all you.
I'm tired of looking at y'all.
And it's something about the foreign soil, I think, that brings you back together. It's like that normal face, or that it feels like home,
Gotta be. It feels familiar.
Yeah.
I always want to know who's the cool guy that found that bar and that brought everybody there, like.
Right. How did it start? Like, who built the fire? Then everybody gathered, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll get another beer real quick.
Yeah.
You need another one?
Yeah, I'll take one. Break. Wag my hand so I know where to stop. So I don't know how you edit your stuff, but I edit on InShot, which is just a video editing software. So
okay,
I go from that and then I cut from there.
Yeah, I do Odyssey, and I try to I pound the desk or something to know that I want to cut something out. So I see the audio spike.
Yeah.
And then I really only edit for long breaks while I'm gathering my thoughts, or I say ums and uhs a lot, and I try to edit those out as much as I can.
I truly, besides this last one that took me forever, because they were trying to talk about Patton, but they didn't really know where to take the story. So there was a lot of do you remember if he was a 2-star or a 3-star or and so they were trying to get through the story. So there's a lot of editing that way, but normally I don't edit very much at all.
Yeah,
unless we do a break.
Yeah, I don't edit much except, like I said, those long pauses, or like if there's a lot of there's an excessive amount of us, then I'll cut out those us to make it more seamless.
Yeah, or Heath likes to overtalk, and then I always get the go ahead, and so I'll edit out that. He doesn't overtalk everybody. But like I said, I've become very snobby. I'm like, don't do that anymore, so I don't have to edit. Yeah. Anyway.
And do you guys not do anything with the video then?
We do promos with it. We've thought about throwing it up on the YouTube, just raw.
Yeah.
And then we thought about Patreon. So especially that one that we got pulled down from the SEAL captain, we thought about throwing it up there. So I don't know how that all works.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start doing my video on YouTube, but
yeah,
I think we will, because we have a pretty cool studio, and it's be cool to get it, other people see it besides the people we're podcasting with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And plus I'm retired now, so I might have time maybe to get our Patreon up, work on that. And I know we've been doing this going on a year, and I haven't thought about it. We thought about it. I got the Patreon up. I just haven't really put anything into it yet.
Yeah.
So when we come back, I want to talk about your transition to civilian life, and then Heath's transition as he retires.
Oh yeah. Sounds good.
I'll work it. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. So you're gonna throw in the tar part since the other episode got pulled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Welcome everybody back to E14 Podcast with my friend Adam from Average G.I. Joe Podcast. So Adam, thanks for joining us again, man. So let's get into transition from military to civilian life. How was that for you?
It was pretty hectic, but I think it's I'm glad you guys brought it up, because like you said, like I was at that I got to make that big decision. I was at 10 years, like
that's the decision point for most people, right? That's halfway.
Yeah. And so to make a long story short, I got I was in the middle of my shore duty when I got IA'd to Cuba, and then you're supposed to get that year of shore duty back, but I got the infamous needs of the Navy from my detailer, and they wanted to send me to Japan. So I took all my looks, and I was telling my detailer, look, man, are you sure you want to play this game right now? Because I'm a very good tomahawk tech, and you guys paid me a lot. You guys invested a lot of money, and I'm willing to walk out. And then I see this a lot especially like on Facebook, where a sailor they'll do their reenlistment, and they want their flowers. They're like, hey, I'm reenlisting, everybody congratulate me.
Right.
And then the next day they realize that, oh shit, I'm still in the Navy. I still got to stand duty. I still got to go on deployments. I still got to leave my family behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking about all these things when it was my time. And I was like, I'm not going to sign any orders just because I'm afraid to get out. And so people forget that as much as it is like, it's a great service, it's a great opportunity and all that, it's still a voluntary thing. And you can ask the Navy for things, and they could ask things from you. And then if we just couldn't negotiate on things. So I was like, I'm willing to walk away from this. And ultimately that's what it came down to. And I made that decision, and overall I'm happy with that decision.
That's interesting that you bring that point up because I remember at my 6 year mark, I went into the GS world, right? Wait, I said I went reserve, but I actually went into the GS world and it was scary. I can remember having to shop for health insurance, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to need. I don't know what my kids are going to need. I don't know, what to choose. And there was nobody there to help you because you're so used to having that chief or whoever it may be to help you through these decisions. And then you're having to make them on your own. And that is scary. And a lot of people stay in the Navy for that security or in the military in general for that security, because then you start talking about health insurance, life insurance, all of this stuff that civilians deal with. And you're like, I'll just stay. I'll just re-enlist me,
Yeah.
But it's true. That's what we talk about with the job security and just the security or the safety net that the military provides.
And all that is good, but like, you also have to think like, if you're gonna take orders because you're afraid of getting out or for whatever reason, and so you take what's available and then you become a disgruntled sailor, that overall big picture Navy, that's not good for the Navy in general.
That's true.
No, you're right. That's true.
And so I don't think you could do like 26 years without maybe choosing a couple orders that you don't want to do. And I get that that's part of like, if you're going to do a career and like, you're not going to have everything you want at all times. But if you're at a point where you're just going to be disgruntled the whole time, believe me, there's a large enough network and enough skills at this point that you can make it out in the real world. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think I could. That's not why I did it. I've maybe gotten 2 sets of orders.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 set of orders I really didn't want, but it turned out to be okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to Japan at first. I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
It was an awesome experience. But most of the time I got pretty lucky. To where I went. I mean, I've never got anything I never got anything that I didn't request.
Yeah.
It might have been the bottom of my list, but I put it on that paper. And they say, if you put it on the paper, you gotta be prepared to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never got anything I didn't request. So the Navy, I've been pretty fortunate. I hear about like your story 100 times.
Yeah. I've
heard that a million times that people if you're owed that shortage back and they don't give it to you, in my opinion, you kind of got screwed.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But that's one thing, people have the choice to get out.
Yeah.
Most, if all their contracts coming up and you took that choice and you did well, man, good for you, man. I mean, I don't think anybody should take something they don't want just for fear of getting out. Because I think unless you want to be there, if you don't want to be there, don't be there. I've never said you should stay in the Navy even though you don't want to. If you don't want to stay in the Navy, get out, man. I mean, that's fine.
Right. Like you said, you don't want that disgruntled sailor
Exactly.
that doesn't want to be there because it doesn't help big picture wise.
Yeah, you did your service more than a lot of people could say. And you have everything to be proud of. So, if you're ready to row, get out and you can be a supporter in different ways. You know what I mean? Yeah. Definitely.
And like I said, whether you did 4, 6, 10 or whatever years, I promise you, enough skills at that point. As long as you weren't a big old dirtbag, enough skills.
You want to survive. Sandwich.
And that's so encouraging because as Heath approaches 26 years and he starts getting out here in October 31st, it's a lot of uncertainty, and he won't show it because I know that he's, the head of our household and everything, but I know that he is feeling that like uneasiness because I've been through it, you've been through it, that, oh, now I gotta like do real world stuff, and I know that he's feeling that. So what advice would you offer him for transitioning from military to civilian?
I guess the biggest advice, if you want to call it, is that like, and it's like I just said, like you got the skills in you to know that you're gonna be able to succeed in the civilian world. And right off the bat, like, even in a general sense, like, you're going to be way more disciplined than any civilian you come across with. It's going to be like such a weird feeling that like nobody shows up on time, and no civilians show up to work on time. Nobody wants to work. It's the civilian world, not to shit on civilians, but I'm sorry if I can't cuss.
No, you
No,
can. I
you
don't
can't.
care.
Okay, not to shit on civilians.
Please, I insist.
Not to shit on civilians, but like none of them want to be on time. You know, they take vacation and then they complain about their paycheck. It's a weird, like, as a military person transitioning to the civilian world, like, your work ethic is going to be 10 times better than any civilian you'll come across.
What I noticed was that it's a lot slower pace than what we're
Yeah.
used to working at. And that was strange to me, because I was like, wait, what do you mean we just sit here all day and wait?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, because GS is very much, I say, like the Air Force. We all have our specialty, and we wait for the widget to come across our desk. And when it does, we do our thing, and then we pass it on, and then we wait again. And that's kind of how the Air Force runs as well, and and not to dog on the Air Force, but everybody's so specialized in the civilian world that it's like, what do you mean we just sit here and wait? Like, that's weird. Don't we have any collateral duties?
Yeah, right. Because that is, if you're not doing your job, you get paid to do. You're doing 100 things you volunteer to do, or you got voluntold to do.
Yeah.
And there's no, I mean, you're at sea, you got time. There's 24 hours a day. You can't work 24 hours. There's always time to fuck around, fuck off. But they're few and far between. And so when you have all this time, I would go nuts. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to calm down a little bit before I go to civilian work. I'm gonna have a freaking heart attack.
It's gonna be what's gonna be the hardest thing is like depending on what you do afterwards in your civilian, like, nothing is mission critical depending on your job in the civilian world, that your anxiety is gonna be pretty high, because you're so used to, like, if this radar isn't up and running, or you gotta shoot Tomahawk missiles at time event 0 and this and that, and then you take all that anxiety that you've learned, you built in the Navy, and you go into the civilian world where they're like, whatever, you're gonna have to relearn a whole new method of stress management in the civilian world.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story? I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast before, but I got kicked out of the PTA my first year after transitioning from active duty. But anyway, I went, and my oldest at the time was in kindergarten or first grade or whatever it was. And so I went to the PTA meeting. I was like, I'm going to be that mom. I'm going to be the baking and all of that stuff. So I go to the meeting. Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Oh,
that was my job. So I go to the meeting, and they're talking about like what color paper that the note had to go out to on the parents, and they're fighting. It should be purple. No, we did that last time. It should be yellow. And I was like, what are we talking about? Like, who cares? Who cares? And then that wasn't the final straw. Then came Halloween, and we were taking pictures of the kids with their costumes. And the lady said, I'm going to do it with just a blank background, and I'm going to go to Walmart and put the border. I was like, well, I got a pumpkin in my car. I'm going to put it here. And she goes, no, we don't need to do that. Well, I said, well, I don't care what you say. I'm going to go get my pumpkin and pose the kids with the pumpkin. And then I got kicked out. I don't know.
Taking charge.
Yeah. I took charge, number one, and I didn't care about the colored paper, number two. So that was 2 strikes. I was already out.
You pissed off a lot of Karens that day.
So I never tried to go to PTA or PTO, whatever they call it nowadays.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I don't have to write any more damn evals again. No more SOQ packages. I don't have to sit no more ranking boards. I mean, that's cool. I'm excited about that, because it's not like it's stressful, but it's just shit that you have to deal with on a daily, which it's important. But the thing that there's people behind you to take that for you now is it's pretty nice.
It's a relief.
A relief, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you always want to put your best foot forward for anything you type or you create, or when you fighting for your peeps. You always want to put your best foot forward. So that adds a little stress to you because you don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
Now that I don't have to worry about that anymore, that's pretty cool. It's relief on that part. But I miss, like, jobs suck, man. Work sucks, so they wouldn't pay you to do it.
Yeah.
But it's the people. It's the friendship, the camaraderie, the fact that you can have a buddy, not talk to him for 10 years, and you talk to him and it's like you never not talked to him for 10 years. It's things like that you cannot replicate in civilian life that I'm going to miss. That part where you're just kicking back and somebody says something like talk shit to you, you just start talking shit back, and it becomes this big thing, and it's funny as hell, and it can go on for hours. But it's the stuff like I said, they'll never happen again once you get out. Things like that.
Sorry to keep turning this back onto you, Heath.
Cool.
But like 26 years is like a huge deal. Have you thought about like not only the immediate sailors that you've interacted with, that you've introduced the Navy core values to, but like, have you thought about all the sailors in the 26 years that you've worked with or associated with, and how you've affected them in the future? Like maybe there's a sailor that got out of the Navy and started his own small business, and he's like, Chief over here, he taught me about honor, courage, commitment, and now he's passing that down onto his workers. Or maybe there's a sailor that got out and is like working for like NASA or something, that that you've affected, and now he's disseminating all those values that you've instilled. Like, imagine all the sailors that you passed along the way. Have you thought about that?
I know the Navy core values, honor, courage, commitment, and I believe that, but I've never pushed that. My big thing was work hard.
Yeah.
Do your best. Do your absolute best. And if you're doing your best and you're working hard, the good Lord is going to take care of it. I've always pushed that on people. So I hope one day there was this guy that said, damn, Chief works hard, works his ass off. So I can't, he's working his ass, he's all in, so I got to be all in. And that paid dividends off to that person in the future. I hope that happened. And I hope they say, well, damn, Chief, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have got that work ethic. Because that's a big thing that I've always pushed, was work ethic. Work hard, do the right things, and good things will happen. And I've always believed that, because it worked for me. And it worked for a lot of people that mentored me. So I've always pushed that work ethic. And I hope there's somebody out, that'd be great if there's somebody out there that said, damn, Britt, that dude is the reason that I did this or did that. That'd be life altering, for me.
Or even if your ideals were just a launching pad for them to go on and do bigger and better things.
Definitely.
Like, imagine all the lives you've touched in 26 years.
A lot, but
because it just replicates. You touch that first class, second class, third class, whatever,
But I mean, that hasn't been like I've been fired as a mentor. I've been fired as a mentor because they didn't like what I was telling them. I was just telling them the truth.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, tell everything's gonna be okay. Keep trying. No, dude, you're jacked up. So yeah, I mean, I've always believed in telling people what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear. And it's blown up in my face a couple of times, but hey, could be worse.
I like what you're who was it? It was an officer that said you're the old school chief, the one that lights people up, the one that makes sure everyone is acting right, and the one that held him accountable as a junior officer. And he appreciated that. And I like that.
It meant a lot because he looked at me sideways a few times when I was getting on his ass. But no, great guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but no, that meant a lot when he emailed me and told me that. That actually meant a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
so,
he wasn't even a fleeter. He was an NSW dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys, because could tell from, and this is kind of how I do my podcast, is it's a lot of like experience-based, memory-based type of stuff that make you reflect and think back on your Navy career. So
Right.
I got one more question or another question for each of you is when you think back on, Chief, your long 26 years and Jamie on your long career, is there a memory that keeps repeating in your head that pops in your head every so often or more often than anything else?
Yeah, I got one.
Let's hear it.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, well, at a command I was at, I'm not gonna get into it too much, but long story short, there was this kid that checked in, and he had, at the time, had a brother that had been diagnosed with cancer. And he asked for time off to go help donate bone marrow, whatever, help him with the treatment. I know he had stuff that he could have donated to him, bone marrow or whatever. And he had just checked in. We send him 6 to 8 weeks TAD to the hospital. I'm not gonna get into where that was, but where he could help with the treatment. And he comes back. I guess his brother's doing better. And he says, I need more time. I'm like, bud, look, man, you got to start getting trained. I'd love to send you more, but you got to, the Navy's helped you out. It's time for you to do your part. And I said, and it wasn't just me. I went on to make, I'm a senior chief. I don't make that decision, right? But I agreed with it that he needs to get to work. And 2 weeks later, he committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
And I keep thinking, what if I've been like, all right, bud, you have another month. Would that kid still be alive today?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, was it because of me? I don't know. Maybe. I don't hope not. But I was one of the ones that said, bro, I mean, we've given you 2 months.
Yeah.
Free money. Help your brother. It's time for you to do your thing, and get qualified and do your Navy thing. And yeah, that sticks with me a lot.
And I'm sure that altered a little bit of how you.
It did. It softened me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, it softened me up a lot because I was like, nah, you're getting paid to do a job, do your damn job. I mean, with this kid, obviously I was a little more lenient because of his brother. And my brother had some health issues back in the day, and I knew I get it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're getting paid to do a job. You need to do your job sooner or later, before you give us 4 years with nothing. Or 6 years, whatever it was he gave us.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah.
No output. But at the end of the day, I kept thinking, was that output worth a kid's life? I don't think so. If that was a reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's awesome. I mean, not awesome, but like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That you're able to share that. I appreciate that.
I think for me, when it comes to training air traffic control, and I'll take it all the way back to the beginning, that we're talking about millions of dollars worth of equipment and a lot of lives up in the air, right? And one day I was training this guy in the radar room, and you would look at the radar and issue control instructions, and then you would have to shift to our OD58, or what we now have as the stars, and scan for traffic around to make sure nobody was like flying into them. And he kept forgetting that part. So he's on this PAR scope, this precision approach radar scope, and he's just focused on this airplane. And I told him one time, you need to scan for traffic, make sure nobody else is around. Okay. And then he continues on his approach and continues on. You need to scan for traffic. That's twice. And he continues to work this airplane, but forgets to scan for other airplanes in the area. And finally, I unplugged it and I threw his plug across. We have these headsets, and I threw his plug across the room, and I was like, I said, you're going to fucking kill somebody. Scan for fucking traffic. And I saw the lights go on. And by me doing that, and I finished the approach and got the plane on deck and everything, but I saw the lights go on, and I saw him be like, I get it. and that light, that sparkle, it sticks with me in everybody I talk to, because I can see it in everybody that I train, everybody I mentor. I can see that sparkle when the lights come on and they get it. And that's what sticks with me. And it always comes back to that time where
Oh,
he was
wow.
like, wide eyes, like, oh, I get it now, and that's something that sticks with me over and over.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow, that's true though. You see it.
Yeah, you could see the change in
The
their eyes.
aha, the aha
Uh-huh.
moment.
The
Aha
aha.
moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's great.
What about you?
It's so awesome. That's why I love doing these podcasts, because like every single session, every single podcast, I'm taking a trip down memory lanes. And right now, what I think about is like those moments between and Jamie. I know you weren't a ship sailor, so I'll try to
No.
explain it the best I can. Line handlers or ship evolutions, like line handlers, those few moments like after a ship evolution where you're just around your buddies and you're out at sea, and it's usually like when the ocean is calm and you're sitting there and you're just with your buddies and everybody's in relaxed, everybody's in the coveralls, which is the best Navy uniform ever made.
Definitely.
And they're just shooting the shit, and it it's like 5, 8, 10 minutes before, all right, now everybody has to get back onto their watch stations. Everybody has to get, you get those like 5 to 8 minutes where you're just with your buddies and you're just talking about the same shit you've been talking about for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Like I think about that a lot these days. Those few moments in between when things start getting hectic or the work day starts all over again.
I tell you what, man,
That's amazing.
there's not a better sunrise or sunset than in the middle of nowhere in the ocean.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
just chilling.
Those moments are impactful when you think back to it. And like I say, like the smoke pit or just shooting the shit, when the work is done, when you've been through the shit, in that rest in between that and the rest of the shit you have to do.
I think I remember when I got accepted into the Chiefs mess on final night. Back in the day when I made it, it was all night. Now they stopped it early, but it was all night. And I remember finally getting accepted, and I was like, man, I need a cigarette. So I walk out to the smoke deck. The sun had just been rose a little bit. It's about 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I remember just like you go from that hell, not hell. I mean, that
You were in the shit.
in the shit, a lot of noise, loud, getting yelled at, whatever. You walk out, and it's just the most peaceful thing. You go from one extreme to the other in a matter of 2 minutes.
I call it being in the shit, and then that little bit of time before it starts again.
The calm after the storm and before the next storm.
Or like, how about when you're like in the Gulf and like you wake up early in the morning for quarters, you step outside, the whole ship is covered in salt, and then the water looks like glass.
It is. Gulf is really, really smooth.
The water looks like a mirror, and everything is just quiet. There's the lightest breeze just coming through the ocean, and the sun is coming out over the horizon.
Right, that's nice.
Like sailors will have some of the most unique views.
Yeah, it's true.
You'll ever see.
I'll never get a better view than what I had at sea ever.
Wow.
For sure.
So you want to close us out with some of your handles so we can tell our listeners where to find your podcast, your social medias?
Shameless plugs.
You can find me on most streaming platforms under Average GI Joe Podcast. I have a Facebook group or a Facebook page. You could search for the Average GI Joe Podcast on Facebook, and on Twitter you could catch me at Average GI Joe Pod, POD.
Awesome, man. Before we close this out, do hang out for a second. We'll BS for a minute after we close out this episode.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks so much for coming on. And with that, we'll wish you fair winds
and following seas.
He's just gonna stop recording. Dude, that was good. I love it. Oop.
Was that me?
No, that's me.
Okay.
That's me. I love all of that stuff that you bring back, that you bring up. That's something I feel like we're missing in our